How did the Mavericks even up this series with Luka Doncic remaining doubtful as the Mavericks need to get Game 2 before they head back to Utah? This is Inside the Mavs right here on Kevin Gray Sports. My name is Kevin Gray. You can find me on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Kevin Gray Sports. Be sure to hit that subscribe button right there for all things Kevin Gray Sports here on YouTube. And you can catch me on your home with the Dallas Cowboys and Texas Rangers, 105.3 The Fan. The Dallas Mavericks take on the Utah Jazz in game number 2 of their first round series in the Western Conference playoffs before they head to Utah on Thursday for game number 3. Luka Doncic remains doubtful for game number 2, and his status for this series continues to remain up in the air. Of course, the Dallas Mavericks unfortunately lost on Saturday, 99-93 to the Utah Jazz as they got out-rebounded by 19 in that game overall. Despite the fact that Rudy Gobert only had 5 points, he did have 17 rebounds and 3 blocks in the game. Jalen Brunson and Spencer Dinwiddie with a combined 15 of 39 from the field for 46 points. Jalen Brunson had 24 points, albeit on 24 shots. They only had 17 assists in the game on 29 made field goals, where the Dallas Mavericks shot 38% from the field and just 28% from the three-point line. They did do a good job, however, of running Utah off the three-point line as they only took 22 threes in the game, where we know that the Utah Jazz lead the NBA in terms of three-point field goal attempts per game throughout the season. They only made 7 of them, going just 31% from the field. But allowing Donovan Mitchell to score 19 of his 32 points in the third quarter, and then the Jazz were able to hang on at the end, despite the fact that Maxi Kleber's three-pointer was able to get the Dallas Mavericks within 1. The Mavericks were not able to complete the comeback in the game to be able to steal and win game number 1. I said going into this series that game 1 was the one that they needed to get because you wanted to put doubt in the mind of the Utah Jazz, who we've seen throughout the course of the end of the regular season have trouble keeping leads in the fourth quarter and blowing fourth quarter leads, and you did not want to give them confidence that they could walk into your building and get a game on your home floor. That's exactly what happened in game number 1. You were already missing Luka Doncic, and the thing, if you were the Mavericks, that you had to do was establish the fact that even without Luka Doncic, you could not come on our home floor and beat us. Now that that's happened, the Mavericks have to find a way, by hook or by crook, to win game number 2. They've got to get better ball movement going into game 2 and into the rest of this series. We saw a lot of isolation with Spencer Dinwiddie and Jalen Brunson, obviously the 2 primary ball handlers on this team, with Luka Doncic being out, them trying to create not just for themselves but for other teammates. And you saw at times them be able to get into the lane at will for Dinwiddie and Brunson. They were going to have to continue to attack Utah's front line. I know that Rudy Gobert was an absolute monster in game number 1. There's a reason why he's one of the best defenders in all of the NBA. His ability to move his feet, to be able to diagnose and make plays, whether it be in the lane, blocking shots, altering shots, and even coming out to contest and being able to get out toward the perimeter. Rudy Gobert proved why he's a 3-time defensive player of the year. But you still had a chance, if you were the Mavericks, to win this game. You had a chance in the fourth quarter to win this game. You have to put yourself in that same position going into game 2 and then into game 3 and beyond in this series. Luka Doncic will not be playing in game number 2. His status for game 3 remains up in the air. But what the Mavericks can do is, number 1, be better when it comes to team rebounding. They got out-rebounded on the defensive glass by 13, got out-rebounded on the offensive glass by 6. They have to find a way to be better as a team rebounding the basketball without its best rebounder and Luka Doncic. If they continue to get dominated on the glass, as the way that they did in game number 1, it's going to be very difficult for this team to win this series. But more importantly, the best way that you can prevent defensive rebounds for the Jazz is to knock down your open shots. The Mavericks went 9 of 32 from the three-point line in game number 1. That is completely unacceptable. If you're Reggie Bullock, who did go 5 of 10 from the field, was 3 of 8 from the three-point line, but the rest of your teammates, Dorian Finney-Smith, Spencer Dinwiddie, Maxi Kleber, and others, you have got to find a way to knock down open threes. They left Josh Green out on an island by himself and dared him to beat them from the three-point line, and he went 0 of 4. He will continue to get wide open looks in this series because the Jazz will dare him to knock down three-pointers, and if he cannot do so, he becomes a liability on the offensive end, especially when you only play an 8-man rotation like the Dallas Mavericks did in game number 1, where you had Maxi Kleber, Davis Bertans, and Josh Green coming off the bench. Davis Bertans has to be an X factor, not just in game number 2, but also going forward for the rest of the series. When the Mavericks go ultra small, he has to be able to knock down shots to pull Gobert away from the basket, to pull Whiteside away from the basket, so they're not just camping out in the paint and being able to camp down low to be able to block shots and to contest shots once drivers come into the lane. For Dinwiddie and for Brunson, they have got to be better when it comes to their efficiency. Jalen Brunson is in an interesting spot right now. He took 24 shots in game number 1. Obviously, the volume of shots that he takes isn't normally that high, but what he has to do is be more efficient. Jason Kidd told me during his media availability today that he liked the shots that Brunson took in game number 1, but he has to be able to continue to take those shots and remain aggressive, and then some of those shots will continue to fall. I understand and like the answer there that Jalen Brunson remained more aggressive, and you could tell early on in the game that he was a little tight. He was able to get a couple of buckets to get himself into rhythm, but throughout the course of the game was not able to knock down the kinds of shots, whether it be the floaters or whether it be the mid-range game. Not able to do much of that on an effective basis, missing 15 of the 24 shots that he actually took. Spencer Dinwiddie, on the other hand, you've got to be able to knock down free throws. The Mavericks lost this game by 6 points. Spencer Dinwiddie went 10 of 16 from the free throw line. This team collectively went 26 of 34 from the free throw line, just 76% as a team. Remain aggressive, continue to attack the paint, but more importantly, when you have opportunities at the free throw line, you've got to be able to capitalize on that to be able to do so. That's exactly what the Utah Jazz did in this game. They went 20 of 23 from the free throw line, 87%. And one thing that you should be encouraged about if you're a Mavericks fan looking back on Game 1 and now heading into Game 2, 3, and 4 is that you still had a chance, despite how poorly you shot the basketball from the field, how badly you got out-rebounded by the Jazz, and how poorly you shot the ball from the three-point line. You still had a chance to win this game and only be down a point when you had the opportunity in the fourth quarter. That should be encouraging to you. Obviously, what's discouraging is the fact that if you had Luka Doncic in this game and in this series, you're probably winning this series in 5 or 6 games at the most. But hey, that's where we are. No Luka Doncic in this series up to this point. No Luka Doncic in Game 2. We'll see what happens in Game 3 on Thursday. But most importantly, the Mavericks have to be able to knock down more shots from the three-point line, obviously, to give themselves better chances to not get out-rebounded on the defensive glass the way that they did in game number 1. Capitalize at the free throw line. But more importantly, the ball movement has to be much better in games 2, 3, and 4 in this series. The ability to make the ball work for you on offense, crisp ball movement, being able to find guys, whether it be Jalen Brunson or Spencer Dinwiddie, to be able to make extra passes, to find guys with better looks. That, to me, is going to be a name of the game when it comes to the Mavericks and their ability to win in the series. Defensively, they played well. You hold the Utah Jazz to under 100 points. You hold them to just 31% from the three-point line. You hold them to just 43% from the field overall. Defensively, you were in this ball game. Now, can you execute offensively to match the defensive intensity that you brought in game number 1 and continue that same defensive consistency in games 2, 3, and 4? And if you can, and be able to shoot the ball a bit better in this series, you still have a good chance to win. Now, I know how difficult it is a place to play and to win in Utah, which is why game 2 is as important and as pivotal as it is. Because if you can find yourself getting game number 2, splitting, and then going back to Utah, now you've got a real shot to be able to continue to remain in this series. The name of the game here is to win as many games as you can, to buy as much time as possible for Luka Doncic to get healthy and to get on the floor. If you're able to do that and to extend this series as much as you can or as much as you need to until Luka Doncic gets back, you have the best opportunity to win this series. I'm not ready necessarily to write off the Mavericks just yet, but you've got to get game 2, and then you've got to find a way to split in Utah in games 3 and 4. If you can get it to 2-2 and get it back to the American Airlines Center where you have 2 of the final 3 games in your own building, you have a chance to still win this series, because that means 77 may be back on his way to the floor. And if that's the case, That's a good sign if you're a Dallas Mavericks team. A team that at one time was down by 12, found themselves getting back into the game and had a chance to win at the end. If you're a Mavericks fan, if you're an MFFL, you should be encouraged by what happened, despite the fact that in the end, they were not able to get the win in game number 1. Game number 2 tips off at 7:30 p.m. at the American Airlines Center. Then games 3 and 4 will be in Utah later this week, with game 3 on Thursday. How will the Dallas Mavericks respond after the game 1 loss will tell us all we need to know about how this series could look going forward. You can find me on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Kevin Gray Sports. Again, be sure to hit that subscribe button right there for all things Kevin Gray Sports here on YouTube. This has been Inside the Mavs right here on Kevin Gray Sports. We'll talk to you later. Peace.